Hello, good day. Welcome to another episode of the Good Living Podcast. Remember, the Good Living Podcast at gmail.com. That's where you send your stories and your issues. And it's a very good Sunday morning. I'm recording this now. Obviously, I'm not going to put it out until a few days. And Arsenal is playing United later today. I hope we really do win that match because this is going to sound awkward and stupid by the time this comes out if we don't win. Or if we lose at least, because it's going to be a tough game. I'm not really expecting a win, because we obviously don't have our full strength team playing, but that's not what this one is about. So I've been in a lot of arguments with different people about who has the harder life, men or women. And while the majority of the population or the majority of people I've come across are actually unanimous in the reply that men's lives are harder, some people still argue that women have harder lives. And I just want to push this opinion further by saying the ratio in difficulty between the difficulty of a man's life in comparison with the difficulty of a woman's life is larger than you think. All right, I can say men's lives are 5 times harder than women's life. And while you might argue this, I just wanted to use a few points to maybe about 5 or 6 points, I don't know, the ones that come to my head, to explain these facts, because I don't want this to be a very long thing, and I wanted to have this discussion. Maybe I'll do a part 2 where I have this discussion with somebody else who really thinks women, I mean, if you're listening to this and you think women have harder lives, I'd like to hear from you, honestly. I mean, deep down, I'd like to school you, but yeah, the politically correct thing to say is that I'd like to hear from you, because I really would. Alright, so let's get straight into why I think men's lives are hard. I had this analogy, but I realized it was trash eventually. I realized that I thought that men couldn't bear the name peace. And I have this philosophy that nothing exactly happens by chance. Everything is planned, everything is intentional. Like in football, for example, there is terrible refereeing you see in certain games. And the consistency in the decisions they make is top notch when 2 small teams are playing each other. And then when certain teams are playing with certain teams, all of a sudden there are dodgy decisions being made. And they say the inconsistency, the quality of the reps are not. I say this is intentional. The same thing with things that are happening in this country. They say snakes swallowed money, or they said they blocked you from using crypto. Stuff like this. You think it's just policies with some other kind of end product or plan that you don't know of. It's basically what is staring you in the face. They want you to be poor so they can use money to control you in this country. That's something I'm going to discuss some other time. However, in what ways, what are the aspects of life that we live in? What are the different aspects of this life that we live in? I'm going to try and list them out and show you how men have it more difficult than women in all of these aspects. First one, I'll go into relationships, like in dating. First of all, who has to make the move? If there might be a girl that likes you pieces and she's not going to say anything to you. And while I'm making this podcast, I do not think that the roles should be reversed. I do not for 1 second think that the roles should be reversed. I think it's perfectly normal. I think this is how it should be. My advocacy is that it should be accepted, all right? It should not be pushed to the side. Men's lives are harder, and it should be accepted by women that, our lives are harder. That's why we demand certain things like peace. Now, going back to what I was saying about peace and how men cannot bear that name. Obviously, in English, men will not be able to bear peace. I don't think in Yoruba men can bear peace. I don't know what it means, but I'm almost sure that it's not possible. I should have done my research before I hit record, but I've not done my research. I don't think it's possible. It's not possible in my language, Igbo too, because it's too feminine, right? The name sounds too feminine. In Tiv, obviously, this is why I said my analogy was trash, because I forgot in Tiv, Bem, which is a predominantly male name, almost exclusively male name, is actually peace. So yeah, men can actually bear peace. But the frequency at which men can bear peace compared with women means that men don't even have peace in their lives. Okay, that's probably a lame thing to say. I figured that out as soon as I opened my mouth and said it. But in relationships, men have to make the first move. Alright, that he wants to, even if the man does not even like the lady in question as much as as much as she does him, he still has to go make the first move because it's just a manly thing. And now, these are the things that men do. Things that are inbuilt in us, let's say in our DNA, and in the way the world has evolved to be. These are the things that men have been known to do, be the ones to woo the female. That men don't complain about that, because I think for many men it's an adventure. It's a good experience. It's like a hunting experience, but it's not like you should look at men as predators or anything. But it's a good experience to hunt, and a man would know that experience and cherish it and relish it, because it's a manly thing to hunt. All right. And so, but it's harder to do. That's where I'm getting at. It's harder to do. It's harder for a man to get up and actually go to walk up to a woman, because there's always that fear of rejection. And your success rate in picking up women as a man, if you have a good rate, is 60%. If you're like the king, it's 60%, right? So that's how fucking difficult it is. Sorry, pardon my language. And yet, men still go for it. Every single time, every single situation, men are expected to go for it first. And then imagine a guy that is like a 5 over 10. He's getting rejected bare times, man. He's not even getting hope anywhere. Only in few occasions. Or some of these people actually just get married by impregnating somebody. And then inside the relationship already, the man has to provide, right? I mean, in the modern world, where ladies do not want to do like traditional stuff, which is like cook, clean, and stuff like that in a relationship or a marriage. And I'm joining them together because you're going to make a good girlfriend before you make a good wife, right? You're going to make a good fiancé, a good courtship partner before you make a good wife. So if a man is expected to provide, protect, and do all of these things as a man in a relationship, he does not even complain. All right, men do not say, why do we have to be the one spending? Why do we have to be the... No, men do not even complain about that. But women are always there complaining that I'm not going to cook. I don't cook for a man. I'm not going to cook for a man. I mean, if you don't cook for a man that you're not in a romantic relationship with, that's cool. But if you're in a romantic relationship with a man, I think you should. It's bare minimum shit. It's bare minimum stuff. You have to do certain things in return for the stuff he does. And if you mention sex, I will slap you, because you're both enjoying. In fact, men enjoy sex better than women. So in relationship, let me even delve into that. In relationships, let's say sex, all right? Because I'm not going to sit here and advocate casual sex, even though all of you are doing it. Let's save your soul. So in relationships, there's sex, right? And who enjoys sex more? You might think it's the man, but I've asked questions, and it's the woman. It's the woman that enjoys sex more, obviously, because for a man, sex is more like conquest. I think what men find most interesting in the pursuit of sex, whether it's casually or in a relationship, is even the chase, right? The actual activity in itself gives you that feeling of a conqueror. Yeah, you've succeeded at something. I think men's life is about goals, accomplishment, and achieving, and the high we get from achieving stuff. Women get it too, but I think it's bigger in men, because we are designed to appreciate that stuff more, because that's what we live for. So in a sexual scenario, let me paint this without being overly explicit. You're doing stuff to please the woman. Any man who's having sex not to please the woman, I don't know what you are, bro. But in a normal sexual scenario, you are having sex to please the woman. You're trying to make sure that you impress her, not because you're looking for good PR outside. It's just for your own ego, because if you come quick, for example, you are not going to be appreciated, and you're not going to like yourself. I think every man in this life has come quick somewhere or the other, and he didn't like that feeling. No, it didn't feel good. It didn't make you feel proud, all right? It made you feel bitchy. So that's one thing. So you're doing all these things to try and please her. You're asking favorite positions so you can give her the best experience. You're trying to have sex, and while you're pulling the hair, you're spanking, grabbing the hair. You think men like all of that? That's work, all right? That's work. Women are just getting the sensation out of it, and men are doing that, pulling the hair, just for the sake of feeling that control, that conquest, and that's why it's work for men. Sex, right? We enjoy it obviously, but not anywhere near as much as women do, because when we are having sex with a lady, and what she's thinking of flowers and roses, and just like she's like lost in fluffy land. And you're just here thinking about a dead guy, shit smeared all over a dead guy, so you don't come quick. And that's the reality. No, they won't tell you, but that's the fucking reality. You see it. Every man knows what I'm talking about, right? You're thinking about your grandma's underwear, so you don't come. So So it's hard. It's even in that little aspect, in every little aspect, in every niche where you just think about it a little bit, you see that it's harder for men. Now, generally relationships here, if the woman is not happy, there's going to be a problem there. Alright, it's not a fool that said happy life, happy wife, happy life. They know what they were saying when they were saying that. And so you have to live your life as a man in a relationship to please your partner. I mean, not 100%, but you have to go out of your way a lot of the time to make sure the woman is happy, right? Try this test here. My boyfriend shouts at me or my boyfriend screams at me. The next thing you see is how to get help for your boyfriend, how to get him to therapy, how to get him to mental homes and stuff like that. And if you Google my girlfriend shouts at me, guess what? You're going to start to suggest ways that you can appease your girlfriend. Like I said in the beginning, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying any of these things should be changed. Although this is quite unfair, I have to say. I'm not saying the roles should be reversed or anything. I'm just saying you have to understand the level, the depth, the difference in difficulty between a male life and a female life. That's just it. So relationships and sex, I think I've explained to you how it's more difficult. In terms of jobs, now, in getting a job, you might think men are more, better positioned to get jobs than women. But I find that this is a lie. I think it just depends on the type of job. You would almost never see anybody advertising for a male receptionist. Never. But you will always see female, and then you will see people who do not really care about the sex. But when a man and a woman comes for the interview, they'll most likely pick the female. Why? Because they just think they are smoother, they are softer, and they're just well suited or better suited to the job. And then maybe women will now complain that but CEOs and the people who are running the world, the CEO of this company, people who are in high positions in politics and wherever, they're all men, and we want to be represented there too. And I just say, fucking work harder, right? It's not too difficult. And I'm not saying women are lazy, but on the average scale, men are more hardworking than women. And the control and the power and the status that many men have is as a result of the hard work that they put in. And women might say by their books that they work hard for certain positions. And women who actually work hard, who are stubborn like that, they do actually get very far. There's Dora Queen, there's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and then there's this, what's her name again? Johnson, former president of the library. There are women who work hard, but this world requires a certain level of hard work. Men are built, wired to work harder than women. It's not their fault. It's not women's fault. But men are built to work harder than women. And then when they do, as a consequence, they tend to be in the top positions. Right? And so, is there discrimination among, when you look at women? Yeah, there is. But it's because of that underlying feeling of slight incompetence. Like not incompetence from the woman's part, but you just won't do the job as well as this man will do. Especially in certain jobs like engineering, IT, tech, and hard job or hard labor jobs, like mining and stuff like that. So women actually get certain jobs. They do, and if they work hard enough, they actually do get far still. But many women are at home, and many women really don't want to work that much, and they just want to sit and complain online. So when it comes to jobs, in a job where they would, with neutral ground, people will most likely pick females for certain jobs. So we have to just understand that certain jobs require men for that company or establishment to do better. And it's not a jab at women or anything. You just have to understand that men and women are not the same. They are not equal. All right. Next thing. So I don't know. I made a list for this. So I titled this one La Vida Loca. For example, if you want to live the good life, if you want to flex, how easy is it for you as a man to live that good life you want and to flex the way that you want? It's pretty difficult, because for you to, let's say your dream is to have a party with, hot people, tens and tens all over the place on a yacht at the seashore somewhere. That's like what you want to do. That's an experience you want to have. You have to, it doesn't matter if you look like Jesus, all right? You have to work hard, make money, or make connections with people who have yachts so that they can invite you to their parties. Because if you're not a high value man, you have no business being in that party unless you're a bouncer or a waiter, and that's not the experience you're going for. So for you to be in that party, you have to work, you have to make money, you have to make friends, you have to make connections, you have to be a high value person for you to be able to have that experience. All right, so you have to maybe have a yacht by yourself, or have friends who will see you as, one of them, and then invite you to such a party, and you can have that experience. And that's a good life. And it's not just this experience, several other experiences. I've been wanting to go on vacation to like maybe Dubai, and they've even blocked roads for Nigerians to go. They've made it incredibly difficult for Nigerians to go to Dubai, and that's fucked up. Now I have to be able to afford it before I can even do that. Now let's take the party on a yacht scenario and now change the gender. So a female wants that. And I'm not talking about a bang average. Let's say a 7/10 female. All right, you're not even too hot. And if you're African, you can even have your tummy, as long as you have ass and some breasts, you still go. Our scale, how do I say, the metrics for measuring hotness, the line between hotness and not hot, to a lot of African men is really blurry. So if you don't even know, some people like me are very definite in what they want, but some men don't really care. So what I'm saying is, a woman can literally just ask to be on a party like that, just wish it, and it can come through. Like, I'm not saying all the time, obviously, because every time you get a rich guy in your DM asking you out or stuff like that, but there's that chance. It's there, and it could happen realistically. I can only hope that there's a woman somewhere that is chiking the hell out of me, and I'm doing guy, and can afford to actually take me to places. I can only dream. All right, it rarely happens for any man, but for women, there's loads of men. All right, you can have that experience for free just by being hot, just by being a female and being attractive. You can be on a yacht party, enjoying, seeing all the hot guys around, making more connections. That's how easy you have it in that situation, in living the good life, in that experience. And you can come back home and say, yeah, but I still don't have any money left. But the man, when he does that, he has money. Yeah, because he put a lot of work at the back end of it, and he didn't even get there at the time he wanted. All right, you can go with your girlfriends, and all of you will have fun. I want to maybe be in Santorini with my guys flexing, and if I'm the only person who can afford it among all of my friends, I will have to go only me, and then just have one like boring vacation, maybe 2 or 3 guys, because every guy would have to afford it. I love my guys, but even if I have to be able to afford it like easily before I can bankroll everybody, let us just travel. And so that's how it is. You might not even get the things you want. Now there's something else. Women want to have all the jobs that men have. Let it be 50-50. Let there be a quotient or a quota for women, by all means. So there's the army, right? This feminism talk is really, or gender equality activists, they are really loud, this century, or let's say in the past 2 years, they've been really, really vocal about their opinions and stuff. And a lot of sense I get from those arguments. But then, when this war between Russia and Ukraine started, and they started recruiting men to work and letting women leave Ukraine and children leave Ukraine, there was nothing. People were literally begging, we are the feminists now. We are the activists now. We are those people who are talking, and they're saying that you have to represent men and female equally and all of that. That whole movement was conveniently silent. Completely. Now everybody is back up again, shouting all over the internet. But then it was silent, bro. Everybody was quiet. There was no single point. I'm not even saying valid point. No single point was raised regarding that issue from any activist. That was dead. I think that just goes to show how this argument as well is dead. Because when you box this argument into a corner, it tries to wriggle its way out, or just shuts up and let it fade out and retreat, and then they can come out again when the playing ground is level and neutral again, or even slightly tilted in their favor. And so in the army, obviously women are allowed to be recruited into the army as well as men. But why? The main purpose of any security platform, or let me say any army in the world, is to go to war, is to have weapons and to be able to fight to protect. When you hear of the army, you think of fight. When you think of soldiers, you think of fight. Right? It's war. But the actual war front, the violence and the guns and the weapons blazing up and down, with all the women that are being recruited into the army, they just keep them in office, throw away them like in safe places, while the men go out to fight. Those men have families. A lot of them don't even yet. But almost all the men have families behind. And I'm talking about like their moms. I'm talking about like women, wives and children that they leave behind to reach their lives in the forefront. Why the women who are advocating these things are not even anywhere near there? And they don't even talk about it. The men don't even complain. You don't see the army men or soldiers complain that women need to come to the forefront. So no, we conveniently take that responsibility. And yeah, it's not enough for women. They say their lives are harder because of emotional issues. Health issues. Who even suffers from the most health issues? Why do you think men die quicker than women? There's widows everywhere. How many widowers do you see? How many widowers have I even seen in my lifetime? Maybe my dad and maybe 3 others. At the point where my mom, and that's personal information I didn't even need to reveal at this point. So they're not plenty. There are not many men who like outlive their wives. All right, and if the wives dies as a result of maybe one tragic situation or the other, but men actually do develop health issues a lot more than women, and it is because we men do not take our health as seriously as women do. And it's not intentional. It's not because you're being lazy or we don't care. It's because the nature of the things that we have to do to provide, to actually be men, to be respected, to become a high value man and all of that, does not permit us to watch after our health as much as we should. And then at the end of the day, a man has a lot of emotional trauma. He has to keep in a lot of wahala that he's facing. He doesn't talk. He cannot react emotionally. He cannot like scream and bitch and moan and cry about his issues. And he keeps all of that in. And he's having heart palpitations and he's having heart issues at the end of the day after several decades. And he doesn't know exactly why. But this is exactly why. Because you're dealing with issues that you cannot complain about. Because you complain about the world sees you as weak. And nobody has respect for a weak man. So you have to keep that shit in. And then you go through more of that shit. You have to... Pardon my language, please. I have to go through more of that. And then I'm going to lose my patience eventually with this language thing and just go full rogue. I'm just trying to do this so that I can accommodate everybody. So eventually these issues begin to get to you. All right, maybe you have a kidney wahala, or you start having heart issues are like the most common ones, or you have diabetes, because of course you cannot exactly start cherry picking what you're eating because your family has to eat. And I'm talking family because as a man, once you turn 18, the responsibility coming from one place or the other is either your parents, you have to start providing for them, or you at some point you have children that you have to provide for, or a wife that you have to provide for. So there is no point. The moment you're like weaned off your parents, you expect to start giving back immediately. Every male child knows this. And if your parents are not choking you, then don't be dumb and think that they're not expecting. They're expecting. In fact, in this country, our parents are timing you, right? They're waiting. You just be done, okay? Just be done with uni. They're going to fucking deal with you. And that's how it is. So this is why, because the lives are harder for men. So they can't even live long enough because they live short, rough, hard lives, and it doesn't permit them to like last long on earth. All right, and mental issues also are there. The percentages in terms of health problems, I think men have it more. If you Google what gender has majority of health issues, long-term health issues, men. What gender has the majority of not just health, mental issues, is still men. Go to psychiatric hospitals, there's more men there than women. I know, okay, a lot of them will be from drug use, but truly, there's still other stuff, underlying factors that comes as a result of your gender and the role your gender plays in society that fucks you up a little bit more when you take those drugs on top of it. In prisons, who are there more men? But obviously, men commit more crimes because they have more responsibilities, and then crimes mostly are committed for provision. There's robberies, there's murders, and robberies are committed because the armed robbers want something, and maybe they didn't have options. But I'm not going to go into that. It's going to be a rabbit hole, a very deep rabbit hole. Now, let's say another aspect of life I was going to look at is judiciary. Like in court, for example, there are not too many man versus woman cases in court, but this is one familiar one: divorce. Out in a divorce, of course, I mean, the woman is not really looking to get half of your money out of any divorce, but she gets it either way because that's what the law says. And then they tell us we are living in a patriarchy when the world is basically tilted towards favoring the women. We've long gone past patriarchy. The government and the structures does not really control anything anymore. People are living by emotions and emotions now. And I think the society has been guilt-tripped so much into sidelining women that now we're trying to overcompensate, and it's now being detrimental to men. Let me explain. So in a divorce court, regardless of what the man had before that marriage, if he had $1 million before the marriage, 1 million naira before the marriage, and the woman came into the marriage and did not add anything to like the net value of the man, he still was worth 1 million, but more expensive. So maybe he even had to work more to maintain that balance. But in the case of a divorce, she's going to have to keep the house and take half of his shit, and that's that, for being a wife for a period of time. Now, like I said, I'm not saying the women are greedy, when I'm just saying the system now is shifting, has shifted, or is designed in such a way that it pleases women in judiciary. So let's say as a result of a divorce now you have custody issues with children. In the marriage of their children, who do you think the court favors more? The women, obviously. It might be you can both be earning. In fact, if you are both earning the same amount of money, both the man and the woman, then automatically say the man loses the case, because they will say the woman is better position to take care of the children. So, because even in the cases where the man earns more and the woman earns less, the woman still gets to win the case most of the time. And you can tell me everything you want. You can bring up reasons why, but I'll tell you the underlying reason is because she's who she is, which is a woman. All right. So I think I've gone. I don't want to go too much into it. It's actually obvious. Well, let me make one more point. When there's a rape allegation or an assault allegation made on a man by a woman, I think the law normally says you are innocent until you're proven guilty. But in those situations, because a woman's emotions, feelings, or safety is involved, that the accused is antagonized by the public. If he's a public figure, for example, he has endorsement deals, he plays for a club, or he's a footballer, for example, his club will not play him pending investigations. Can you imagine that? He's not even been charged with anything yet. He's not been found guilty of anything yet. But because somebody... Can you imagine? Do you realize how much power women have now? That they can just accuse somebody of something and automatically your image is stained. There's nothing. Even if they find you like innocent later on, your image has been stained already. If I go to a party now and I get with a girl and she comes out the next morning and says I raped her and they arrest me the next morning, my image is stained, bro. There's nothing you can do. You cannot end up, and the case will die and they will say he didn't actually rape her, blah 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 blah. She can even confess and still nothing is going to happen to my image. People who call me rapists online will call me rapist online, and that's that. You can't take that away. And so that's how it is. That's how bad it is now. How about I propose this here? Because a lot of women cry rape wrongly. This has happened. I wouldn't want to call anybody's name, but this has happened to my guy, all right, at a party where he was with a girl. So they were both like together. The girl was like drunk or forming drunk. I don't know. You know what you men do. And then they decided to go into a room. And then the girl was with her friend, obviously. So she was like, these two are in the room together. We had a reason to call them. So her friend was like, no, I want to check on my friend. She's in a room with this strange guy we just met today, so it's not safe. So she went to check on her friend, right? She went, and then she came back out. And I said, are they okay? She said, yeah, I told them, okay, actually, we shouldn't disturb them. All right, cool. This is somebody who came with her friend and has gone to check on her friend when she was alone with a guy. And she said she came back and gave the all clear. Her friend is fine, everything is okay. And then the next morning, I'm hearing stories that the girl complained to a separate girl that invited her to the party that the guy in question raped her. Yo, raped her. And then I'm like, I called that guy. I say, yo, if this is the case, you say you didn't rape her, right? He said, yeah, I say it was completely consensual. That no. In fact, they both agreed not to speak about the sex they had. So why exactly did the girl now call? She called the other person crying on the phone. Now, mind you, when this guy now chatted this other girl up and, yo, why did you do this? Why did you tell this person that I raped you? What's that? And she started apologizing. Imagine this was a public figure and this got out to the public. Imagine the damage that would have done to that guy. And she was just trying to protect her image. Can you imagine that? So here's what I propose. If there's a rape allegation against somebody has to go to jail for it. Hear me out. Somebody has to go to jail in the sense that if there are investigations carried out and they find out that the guy is guilty of that assault or the allegation or whatever it is, he's going to face the law, right? And then if the investigations carried out conclude that the lady lied about the incident, then she should be made to face the same punishment that the man would have faced had he was convicted. I think it's only fair. This is probably the only example in this whole series that I'm going to complain about how it is skewed between men and women, right? So secondly, I say secondly when I've gone through like 4 points. One other point I'm going to make here is like making it in life, right? How needful is it for a woman to make something of herself? How necessary is it? Of course it's necessary. Of course you have to provide for yourself. You want music. A lot of women, many women, millions of women want, billions even, want to be independent, want to have their own stuff, want to be able to provide for yourself and make it in life. But I'm not asking about what the willingness level is. I'm saying how necessary is it for you to. I know you want to do that for yourself, but how necessary is it for you? All right. What are the chances that if you do not do anything, you will end up a lazy fat bum on the roadside, homeless, without any fucking joy in your life or attention or respect as a woman if you don't make it? Chances are not that many. Truth is, you can really sit on your ass all day and say you want to be chairman's wife in this life, and that fairy tale might actually come true because of a man. Meanwhile, as a man, you're on a joke thing if you're not trying to make it in this life, because you're going to be a bum, you're going to be homeless, you're going to die young, you're going to be heartbroken, you're going to be depressed if you do not make it in this life as a man. You have no options. Your family does not have any secret wealth. Of course, in those families where there's inheritance, but as a man, average man living, trying to make a way for himself, there's no secret wealth anywhere going to fall on your lap. You're not going to bet one small team to win the league with all your life savings and wait after 38 games they win the league and you're fucking motivated. No, it's hard work, it's grinding, and before you get to that position of value, because men value status. And then if you don't get that, your life is not going to be as fun as you want it to be as a man. So in life, it is an absolute necessity for a man to make it in life. You should be able to provide for yourself and more people than yourself within a large part of your lifetime if you want to be respected and seen as anything as a man. That is how the life is. That's the reality. And as a woman, of course, you might want this, but you don't necessarily need it as much as men do. And that's facts. But you can argue it, like I said. Alright. So, clearly, with all these things I've said, this world is no longer a patriarchy. It might be a patriarchy in the genders that are in different positions, but that's not it. The world basically now is ruled to please women. Now we're telling women that they can be whoever they want, they can be whatever they want, they can be sexually promiscuous for as long as they want and still retain their value as women, which is false. If you tell a woman, look, we are going to have your body count on your forehead, that is how life is going to go on from now on. Now your body count is going to be like written on your forehead wherever you go. Everybody will know like what your body count is. If you tell men that there are a group of men that would accept it and say, okay, yeah, cool, fine, let everyone know how many people have slept it, and they won't mind. Some men will mind that, but I guarantee you 99% of women will say no to that. But you say your body count doesn't matter, doesn't care. Your value basically is your body count, mama. Your value as a woman is your body count. We can try to run around that circle and not say it exactly, but that's what it is. The same reason why this is so is the same reason why you would refuse to have a body count on your forehead, because subconsciously that's your value. Then you might be you can have money and maybe these things might be erased to a level, but I'm talking about the average person, which is you listening to this. You might not be average in yourself, you're superhuman, whatever you say to yourself to make yourself feel better, but what I'm saying is that is your value. And now the society is telling women that they can lose all of that and and still be okay, while we still have to do all the shit that we needed to do from time immemorial until date. We still have to do all of that shit. We have to provide, we have to build infrastructure, be the ones there to guide and protect and provide and pick up the bill when you go on a date. And if something is funny happening downstairs in your house, you have to leave your wife in the room and go downstairs to check it out. If the Titanic is sinking, you have to stay in the boat and try to revive the ship while the women and children leave. If there's a hostage situation, we have to negotiate for the women and children while the men can stay inside and sort themselves out with the people keeping them hostage. This is the life we live in. And you're telling me that women's lives are harder than men? Please give me a break. So, I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince and not confuse you an emotion that men have harder lives than women. And so this is probably the longest podcast I've ever recorded. And thank you for sticking to the end. I appreciate it. And if there's any topics you want me to talk about, I really appreciate those topics. I like feedback. I appreciate feedback a lot. Thank you very much. And bye bye.